one to project a mental...
Most famous mythical creature in each state. California.
So these horrifying creatures are the Dark Watchers. They're described as being shadow figures that are up to 15 feet tall and wear hats. The native Chumash tribe of California's central coast called them the Old Ones and have seen them for thousands of years. They're often reported being seen at night, watching travelers from the horizon along the Santa Lucia mountain range. According to legend, no one has seen them up close, and they actually disappear when you get close to them.
Most famous mythical creature in each state. Massachusetts.
This guy is the Dover Demon of Massachusetts. The Dover Demon was the subject of an intensive scare in Dover, Massachusetts in 1970 when multiple witnesses came forward with their sightings. He's described as a humanoid that looked kind of like a gray alien, but its skin was more of an orange color than gray, and it also was 4 feet tall, had a large head, as you can see, and a stick-like body, and kind of walked on 2 to 4 legs depending on when it was moving, and his eyes were glowing orange or sometimes green. And here's a drawing from one of the witnesses that saw the Dover Demon. And they said they didn't feel like they were in danger, but they were terrified. People from Massachusetts, has anybody seen this guy? Let me know in the comments.
Most famous mythical creature in each state. Virginia.
This is the Virginia Snallygaster. The Snallygaster's origin story came from German immigrants that were reporting being terrorized by a half-bird, half-reptile that had a metal beak that was lined with razor-sharp teeth. They also sometimes reported having octopus tentacles. Earliest known reports said the monster would silently swoop from the sky, carry off its victims, and suck their blood. And the German immigrants figured out the 7-point star was its weakness, and they used it to keep it at bay. Later on in 1909, there began to be similar reports of seeing a monster like that, and publicity surrounding the appearances became so popular that even the US President Theodore Roosevelt considered hunting the beast. If only he had done it. Let me know what state I should do next.
Most famous mythical creature in each state. Colorado.
This is the Colorado Slide Rock Bolter. Also known as a mountain whale, eyewitnesses describe the Slide Rock Bolter as a whale-like monster with an immense head, small eyes, huge mouth, and flared tail like a dolphin. It was first sighted by lumberjacks in the 18 to 1900s and is said to live in the deepest mountain areas where slopes are greater than 45 degrees. So it grips the mountain with its tail until it's ready to slide down, and it uses its giant mouth to devour anything and everything in its path. Mainly helpless animals and tourists. According to legend, the forest ranger vowed to destroy the beast after realizing a large number of tourists were disappearing because of it. He used a dummy rigged up with dynamite to lure the Slide Rock Bolter to eat it, and when it did, it blew up, resulting in leveling half the buildings in Rico, Colorado. Since then, there's been no alleged sightings, although many believe it still thrives in the Colorado Rockies. What state should I do next? Let me know in the comments.
Most famous mythical creature in each state. Michigan.
This is the Michigan Dogman. In Michigan folklore, the alleged dogman was witnessed in 1887 when a pair of lumberjacks chased a dog into a corner and poked it with a stick. When they poked it, it revealed itself to be some sort of man-dog hybrid. And like all good boys, the dogman was perfectly peaceful, but the woodsman still ran away in terror. He was described to be 7 feet tall, have blue eyes, and have a howl that sounds like a human scream. Later in 1937, in Paris, Michigan, a man was attacked by 5 wild dogs, and he said one of the 5 dogs actually walked on its hind legs. And similar reports happened in 1967. According to legend, the Michigan Dogman actually appears every 10 years on years ending in 7. Sightings have been reported in several locations throughout Michigan, primarily in the northwestern quadrant of the Lower Peninsula. And this creature was unknown to the modern world until the late 1900s, but it's said to have been stalking the Manistee River since the days of the Ottawa tribes.
What state should I do next?
Most famous mythical creature in each state. Florida.
This is the Florida skunk ape, also known as the Florida Bigfoot. It's an ape-like creature that has 300 alleged sightings that inhabits the forests and swamps of the southeast region of the United States, mainly Florida. Described as 5 to 7 feet tall, walks on 2 legs, and is covered in mangy reddish-brown fur. And it's called the skunk ape because it's extremely smelly. One of the first reports was in 1818 when a newspaper in Apalachicola, Florida, released a report that spoke of a man-sized monkey raiding food stores and stalking fishermen along the shores. Later in 1942, a Florida man reported a similar creature running around in the brush while he was driving down a back road when it grabbed a hold of his car and beat on his door for half a mile before running away. One other alleged report came from 2 Palm Beach County sheriff deputies that reported a tall ape-like creature that stalked them through a grove before they just completely opened
Most famous mythical creature in each state. Florida.
This is the Florida skunk ape, also known as the Florida Bigfoot. It's an ape-like creature that has 300 alleged sightings that inhabits the forests and swamps of the southeast region of the United States, mainly Florida. Described as 5 to 7 feet tall, walks on 2 legs, and is covered in mangy reddish-brown fur. And it's called the skunk ape because it's extremely smelly. One of the first reports was in 1818 when a newspaper in Apalachicola, Florida, released a report that spoke of a man-sized monkey raiding food stores and stalking fishermen along the shores. Later in 1942, a Florida man reported a similar creature running around in the brush while he was driving down a back road when it grabbed a hold of his car and beat on his door for half a mile before running away. One other alleged report came from 2 Palm Beach County sheriff deputies that reported a tall ape-like creature that stalked them through a grove before they just completely opened fire on it to make it go away. Florida man. What state should I do next?
Famous mythical creature in each state. Texas.
This is the chupacabra, also known as the goat sucker. Eyewitnesses describe the chupacabra as a wild dog-like creature. But the most common description is that it's a red-eyed, 4-foot-tall creature with leathery or scaly greenish-gray skin with sharp spines running down its back. It's said to drain all the blood from its victims with its fangs, leaving a triangle of 3 holes in the flesh. And I know this is Texas, but in 1995, a rural town in Puerto Rico was plagued with livestock killings where victims were found with wounds in their throats and were drained completely empty of blood. In the same area, there were also 200 sightings of spiny, red-eyed creatures that led to a rumor that aliens were collecting blood to spread AIDS. Later in 2000, a rancher shot something attacking his goats. Then a few days later, found a hairless carcass of a mangy dog-like creature, and the media claimed it was either a genetic experiment or a cross between a wolf and a crocodile. After running tests, they later discovered it was just a common dog with mange. And here's a picture of the dog that they taxidermied.
What state?
Famous.
This is the Russian sleep experiment. In the 1940s, in a top-secret Soviet
Most famous mythical creature in each state. New York.
This is the New York Champ, also known as Champy. It's a lake monster that's said to live in Lake Champlain, and there's been over 300 sightings of Champy. The original story goes back to the Iroquois legends about giant snakes. In 1609, a Frenchman named Samuel Champlain, the founder of Quebec, claimed to be the first European to have sighted Champy. Allegedly, he saw a 20-foot serpent that was thick as a barrel and had a head like a horse. Later in 1819, Captain Crum of the ship Belagua Bay saw an enormous serpentine monster he described as being 187 feet long, had only 3 teeth, and the head of a seahorse. The most recent sighting took place in 2005 when a fisherman allegedly got pictures of a plesiosaurus-like animal opening and closing its mouth. Pretty sure this is the picture right here. Also, this is what a plesiosaurus looks like. When FBI forensics analyzed it, they said it looked authentic, but it didn't look like an animal to them.
Top comment chooses the next.
Most famous mythical creature in each state. Arizona.
This is the Arizona Mogollon monster. Also known as the Arizona Bigfoot, it's an ape-like creature that's said to dwell in